Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside will be mild today, with a high of 63.7 degrees and a low of 56.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Coming up, we'll examine the significance of Honeywell's decision to split into 3 separate companies and what this means for the future of industrial conglomerates. Then we'll explore the implications of Trump's proposed plan requiring federal workers to resign and how government agencies are responding to this development. Finally, we'll look at promising medical research that could offer new hope for patients suffering from muscular atrophy through spinal stimulation technology. All this and more ahead on Alex's News. In major business news this morning, we're following a significant development from one of America's largest industrial conglomerates. Honeywell International has just announced plans for a major corporate restructuring. Here with more details is our business correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, what can you tell us about this breaking news?
Thanks, Grace. According to reports just coming in, Honeywell International has announced plans to split into 3 separate independent companies. This is a massive restructuring that will create distinct entities focusing on automation, aerospace technologies, and advanced materials. According to Yahoo Finance's reporting, this decision comes after pressure from activist investor Elliott Management, which currently holds a $5 billion stake in the company.
What's the timeline for this separation, and how has the market responded to this announcement?
The separation is expected to be completed in roughly 18 months, by the second half of 2026. As for market reaction, we're seeing some initial hesitation. The company's stock fell about 2.5% in pre-market trading, closing at $222.35 yesterday. This decline appears to be linked to Honeywell's 2025 revenue guidance of $40.1 billion, which came in slightly below what analysts were expecting.
Honeywell has done similar spin-offs before. How have those worked out?
That's right, Grace. Looking at Honeywell's track record, it's been a mixed bag. Their 1990 spin-off of Alliant Tech Systems was initially successful, though that company eventually merged with Orbital Sciences and was later acquired by Northrop Grumman. More recently, their 2018 spin-offs have faced challenges. Resideo Technologies saw its stock decline 21% initially, though it remains independent, with a market cap of about $3.31 billion. Perhaps most notably, Garrett Motion, another 2018 spin-off, faced significant difficulties, including a Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2020, though it has since restructured and emerged from bankruptcy.
How does this compare to similar moves by other companies in the industry?
Well, this move closely mirrors what we saw with General Electric in 2021. And, interestingly, GE's spin-offs have shown promising results. According to market data, GE Aerospace has seen an 86% stock price increase over the past year, while GE Healthcare is up 31% since its 2023 spin-off. GE Vernova has also performed well, now boasting a market cap exceeding $91 billion.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. We'll certainly be following this story as it develops. We turn now to a developing story in Washington, where federal workers face a critical deadline tonight. Joining us with more details is our Capitol Hill correspondent, Chloe Martinez. Chloe, what can you tell us about this situation?
Grace, we're looking at what could be a historic shift in federal employment. According to CNN, approximately 2 million federal workers have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern tonight to decide whether to accept what's being called a deferred resignation package from the Trump administration.
What exactly does this package entail for federal workers?
The offer is quite unprecedented. Workers who accept will continue receiving their full pay and benefits through September 30, 2025. That's about 237 days from now, without having to report to work. The administration is promoting this as an opportunity for federal employees to transition into private sector jobs while maintaining financial security.
We're hearing some numbers about acceptance rates. What are you learning about that?
CNN reports that roughly 40,000 employees, representing about 2% of eligible workers, have already accepted the offer. The White House is actually hoping for a 5 to 10% acceptance rate, though these numbers are raising eyebrows among government efficiency experts.
I understand there are particular concerns in certain regions. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, according to KSL's reporting, there's significant worry in Ogden, Utah, where the IRS employs between 7,000 and 9,999 workers, making it Weber County's largest employer. The impact there could be particularly severe for the local economy.
What about legal challenges to this initiative?
Multiple unions are fighting this, Grace. The American Federation of Government Employees, along with two other unions, have filed lawsuits. WFIN reports that AFGE National President Everett Kelly has called this an unfunded, unlawful scheme. The unions argue that this type of program typically requires congressional approval, particularly given the existing $25,000 legal limit on federal buyouts.
And who's overseeing this reduction effort?
Interestingly, the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, is managing this initiative under the leadership of Elon Musk. It's worth noting that certain categories of federal workers are exempt, including military personnel, postal workers, and those in immigration enforcement and national security positions.
Thank you for that comprehensive update, Chloe. We'll be following this story as the deadline approaches tonight. Here are some other headlines. In a wave of nationwide protests, thousands of Americans took to the streets yesterday to voice their opposition to President Trump's policies, Project 2025, and Elon Musk's role in the administration. Demonstrations occurred in multiple cities, including state capitals, with protesters expressing concerns about immigration policies, LGBTQ+ rights, and the dismantling of government agencies. President Trump has signed a new executive order titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, which aims to prevent transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. The order, signed on National Girls and Women in Sports Day, gives federal agencies authority to enforce compliance and potentially withhold funding from schools that don't comply. The U.S. Military Academy at West Point has shut down approximately 12 clubs designated for women and students of color, responding to Trump administration policies on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The closure affects organizations that previously provided support and community for underrepresented groups at the academy. Mexican border cities are experiencing economic uncertainty as threats of U.S. tariffs loom, while President Trump has temporarily paused the implementation of a 25% tariff following Mexico's agreement to deploy National Guard troops to combat fentanyl trafficking. Business leaders remain concerned about potential recession risks. The $800 billion trade relationship between the two countries hangs in the balance. In India's parliament, opposition lawmakers staged protests over the alleged mistreatment of 104 Indian deportees by U.S. authorities. The demonstrations led to disruptions in parliamentary proceedings as lawmakers voiced their concerns about the handling of the deportation process, highlighting tensions in U.S.-India relations regarding immigration practices. Back to you in the studio. We turn now to a major breakthrough in medical science that's offering new hope for patients with a rare genetic disorder. Joining us to discuss this development is our medical correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, tell us about this groundbreaking research.
Thank you, Grace. According to a study just published yesterday in Nature Medicine, researchers at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine have made remarkable progress in treating spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA, using spinal cord stimulation. For those who aren't familiar, SMA is a genetic condition that causes progressive muscle weakness and can severely impact a person's ability to move.
What exactly does this new treatment involve?
As reported by NPR, the treatment uses temporarily implanted wires in the spine that deliver low-level electrical pulses to specific nerves in the lower spinal cord. What's fascinating is that this is quite different from traditional spinal stimulation used for pain management. Instead of blocking pain signals, this treatment aims to improve communication between sensory nerves and motor neurons.
And what kind of results have they seen so far?
The results have been quite promising. According to the Columbian, the study involved 3 adult participants, and they showed up to 20% more strength in knee extension. One participant in particular, 57-year-old Doug McCullough, reported feeling supercharged during the treatment. Another remarkable case involved a 20-year-old participant who gained the ability to walk to the lab, something they couldn't do before the treatment.
That sounds encouraging. Are these improvements permanent?
Not yet, Grace. KPC News reports that while the improvements were significant, they did fade over time after the stimulator was disconnected. However, some benefits did persist for short periods even when the device was turned off. Susan Harkema from the Kessler Foundation has called this an important proof of concept.
Looking ahead, what potential applications might this have beyond SMA?
Researchers are suggesting this approach could potentially benefit patients with other neurodegenerative conditions like ALS and Parkinson's disease, though that would require additional research. It's important to note that while this treatment shows great promise, it hasn't yet received FDA approval specifically for SMA treatment.
Thank you for bringing us up to speed on this exciting development, Ethan. That was our medical correspondent, Ethan Parker, with story 3 of 3. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King, with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.